Now, with that extra good news on how well this country is controlling the coronavirus, there is lots more happening. We, of course, remain effectively closed off from the rest of the world, and we're likely to remain that way for perhaps the rest of the year, when you see the havoc the virus is wreaking still right across the world. But behind our borders, and with the possible exception of free travel between Australia and New Zealand in an Anzac bubble yet to come, we might be able to open up our society and our economy quite well. That's why it's crucial to get kids back to school. They never should have been shunned, as you know. The medical advice and the lived experience has been clear on this for months. It's only the teachers' unions that have stopped our kids returning to school by effectively controlling the state governments. And if the Ruby Princess was the avoidable shambles on the infection side, then the shunning of school students has been the avoidable mess on the social and economic side. Still, two tools will be crucial to freeing us up more widely. There's going to be more infections, lots more, of course, especially as we start to open up. But the aim is to make sure we find outbreaks quickly and suppress them fast. So the first of the tools is testing. Governments around the country are ramping up testing, especially focusing on people at the front line, like nurses, doctors and aged care workers. The second is the COVID Safe app. It doesn't stop infections, of course, and it's not foolproof, but it'll help when there is an infection. It'll help us track down possible contacts quickly. It just makes sense, and there's nothing to fear. And you can delete it whenever we're done. Here's the Prime Minister earlier today.
It only underscores again why it is so important that we get Australia back to a position where it can be COVID safe across the country, which means we can release the pressure. We can release some of the stress that's on families and individuals across the country from isolation and ensure they can get back to work, get back to school, get back to normal, get back to sport. And if you want to see that happen, I want to see that happen, download the COVID Safe app, please.
So there's hope. States are lifting restrictions. The National Cabinet will look at more relaxations in about a fortnight. The hospitality industry is pushing plans now for how restaurants could reopen under special rules. We're heading carefully in the right direction. But what about this? We've got hundreds of thousands of nurses, doctors, hospital cleaners, aged care workers, public transport workers, delivery people, supermarket workers and myriad others helping us get through this crisis while exposing themselves to some risk. And there's 1 million people unemployed, perhaps close to another 1 million who will end up on JobKeeper payments to tide them over, businesses closed, many small business people wondering if they'll ever reopen what they've built up over the years. So to which workers do you reckon the Australian Labor Party sends its gratitude? Yep, the permanent employees on guaranteed government salaries at the ABC. Through every crisis, our ABC, their ABC perhaps, has always been there, says this tweet from the ALP. So to everyone who works there, thanks, says the ALP to the ABC. This is the ABC that early in the crisis could have shared useful information but chose instead to slam the government for not communicating effectively. Kind of was their job. And this is the ABC who chose to promote its own policy ideas from its own doctor-cum-journalist instead of reporting or even supporting the government's policies. Here's the ABC's Dr Norman Swan on March the 24th.
So the predictions at the moment, if this hockey stick doesn't change that much, is that we'll be out of ICU beds in New South Wales. Victoria will be behind that by April 10th.
By April 10th, eh? Well, we got to about 100 people in critical condition at any one time, and we normally have more than 2,000 critical care beds in this country, and that was quickly boosted long before now to well over 5,000. And today, as we've heard, there are well under 50 coronavirus patients in a critical condition. So Swan's forecast was not only wildly wrong, but needlessly alarmist. Just a few days earlier, on March the 21st, Swan tweeted some other predictions. He said with 1,700 cases then, there would be twice as many 3 days later, and predicted 7,000 to 8,000 cases by the following weekend. Well, that was nearly 6 weeks ago. And as you know, infections still haven't reached 7,000. And more to the point, with recoveries nearing 6,000, we now have less than 1,000 active cases, the overwhelming majority of them mild. I suppose in a way the ALP is right to thank the ABC. They've reminded us how bad it might have been if Scott Morrison and the state premiers hadn't done such a good job.